Next is the story of the Long March off the beaten path. In 1934, part of the Red Army's forces tracked into the Ganzi Tibet Autonomous Prefecture in Sichuan province. Conditions were harsh, but the welcome they received was anything but. CCTV story Cut Zero takes us there to reveal its modern-day legacy of the Long March.
It's easier to get into heaven than travel into Sichuan, or so the old saying goes in China. But at this monastery in the rugged west of the province, there are those who still remember a time 80 years ago when the Red Army came here on an epic journey known as the Long March. Living Buddha Gawang Denpo Geltsen has been abbot and spiritual guide to ethnic Tibetan people here for more than 30 years. But sacred sutras aside, he's also the custodian of the stories about the Red Army coming to this holy place on Dingguo Mountain. The Red Army came here as part of their journey to escape the Nationalist Army. On the 80th anniversary of the march, the Living Buddha says beyond survival, what the Red Army found here was friendship and support.
My previous Living Buddha said those who struggle for the benefit of all people will succeed. That's a spirit that conforms with the Buddha's teachings and that still counts today. So I tell my disciples and followers to carry on that spirit.
Less than 30 kilometres from the monastery is Great Bomb Mountain, where the Red Army won a decisive victory against their pursuers. The Living Buddha, who walks the old battlefield collecting relics, says the day was won because local people lent the strength of their arms to the cause. Beyond binoculars and bullets, he believes the true legacy of the march is modern China.
The old Living Buddha said the army was struggling for the benefit of average people, Tibetans and other ethnics, so we should support them to fend off their difficulties. That the army would bring happiness to all of us. All the followers listen to the Living Buddha and offer their help.
By the time the Long Marches arrived here in western Sichuan, they'd already endured months of bombs and bullets, hunger and hardship. But suddenly, the mountains they'd battled to climb coming here became their shelter. The local people, their benefactors. Many, like the Living Buddha, fed them something that's being harvested from fields like this one all across the region. Barley, part of the staple diet here since time before memory. The historic harvest the fields of Ganzi yielded 8 decades ago was a Red Army fed and rested, able to continue the march that helped make modern China. Today, farming across the region is a modern affair that yields about 37,000 tonnes of produce annually, some 248 of which is barley. But some, like local mill owner Jaga, still do it the old way, choosing to steer away from more current methods of production. 8 years ago, he decided to go against the grain and open a traditional water-powered mill which uses yak skins to make flour, much like the locals did in the time of the Long March.
I learned how to make zamba from my mother and aunt. We wash the barley with boiled water in the first step, coat them for fermentation the whole night. Then after some deep frying, the barleys will be grinded into powder by the very old-fashioned mill. My factory provides employment opportunities for workers and farmers in my neighborhood. For me, the whole business is not only making a living, but doing my own bit to preserve this unique cultural heritage.
The mill is a touchstone for a region that has maintained its culture even as it continues to modernise. And Ganzi remembers the 300,000 soldiers who made the march, only 10% of which survived to finish it. Today, they follow in the footsteps of a legend, which has come to signify determination in China. Walk the mountain trails here and you begin to appreciate just how tough it must have been for the Long Marches as they neared the end of their more than 12,000 kilometre journey across China. These days, western Sichuan is still difficult to traverse, but progress is being made. There's a new airport slated for Ganzi and a railway line with a stop in Kangding being built between Chengdu
and Lhasa. 80 years ago, though, the Red Army did it the hard way, marching out of Sichuan and on into the history books. Their journey finished in Shanxi, but their legacy continues today. I'm Joey Catanzaro in Ganzi for CCTV.